to him on the top left would be, on our top left, would be his friend slash cousin Brett. So he is his cousin, brother, and a friend in the story. And then right next to him, also on the left below Brett, is his other friend Jeff. And on the far end, far left, sorry, bottom left, is the other friend Manny, who is another, that's sort of another in-joke, is based on another friend of ours who had a full beard throughout high school. And the last character I'll describe is the girl on the bottom right. Her name is Linda, and I'll stop it there.
I know, I like that. We'll leave that as it is. There was something the both of you mentioned, something to do about an anime that we watch. So, you know, I think that was to describe basically how the story would look like. So my next question is going in line with, like, what type of, you know, comic is this? We already said that it's not superhero, it's not any of that, but for those of our listeners who don't know what anime is, and I'm trying to work out, like, the comparison in which you guys did, maybe you can tell a better story on what type of genre, if that's the correct word, I guess it should be. What type of genre is Loverboy?
I guess what we can say about it is that, yeah, like I was talking about with anime, it's a slice of life thing. So it's like the everyday life of these students, of this group in particular, and that character specifically, and the struggles that he goes through. Overall, the comic is aimed at PNG youth and the struggles of school life, mental health, self-acceptance, and adolescence. So it covers all of those themes. Originally going into it, I'm pretty sure Dan, we didn't think this through all the way. Dan was just trying to get his thoughts onto paper, you know, just putting down stuff that he went through with a little bit of embellishment here and there. But yeah, it's just the stuff that high school students face on a daily, you know, stuff that they probably only talk about with their friends. You know, there's some things that you can't bring home to your parents. There's some things that you go through alone, and the comic is just here showing you that maybe you're not by yourself, you know? All of us, in some way, shape, or form, struggle.
Now that you said struggle, that's gonna bring us to our next question, because I don't want to spoil this anymore, but what I'm gonna do is straight after the story, I'm sort of going to tell people, you know, that you need to get it, because even I haven't read it yet from the time of this recording. But the struggle now that you brought up is, it's not every day you hear someone makes a comic, you know. You don't need to go into exact details on what happened, but how difficult would you say was it to come around doing this? Because you touched on things like storyboarding and, you know, trying to come up with the characters' names, what type of comic it was going to be. But then there's the actual, I'm touching the physical copy in my hand. How difficult was it to get to this stage where I actually have one in my hand?
Oh, I'd like to say it was a 2-year journey. Yeah, pretty much, because like I mentioned earlier, originally when the first part of the story was made, I had no intention of printing it. I didn't know what to do with the story. It was just I'm getting used to writing characters and dialogue. And then once I decided I wanted to do something with it, that's when I started to get more serious and storyboarding, and then character design, character traits, things like that. I'd say it's a lot of work. I remember I showed this to my family, and I think my mom saw it and she was like, "Oh, you wrote this, and then you drew everything as well." So yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work if this is your first thing. But I think the more I do this, the more efficient I've become, and the more of a system I've built to pump this out a lot more. But just learning, it was very much also a learning process. Just getting this first book done, just learning how things work, and then even printing it physically. That was a whole lesson we had to learn as well, because I think I was mentioning to Graham earlier today, I was looking back at the comics that I have, and I noticed where they put the text boxes in relation to how the page is oriented. Like the word bubbles are never at the top, or they're never alongside the page that's on the outside of the book, because oftentimes when the pages are cut, the word bubbles may be cut as well. So you'll never see word bubbles on the top or the top or outside or bottom. And that's something that I'll have to consider, and I've already come up with a system to avoid that happening. But yeah, that in the process of making this a physical thing, that was another lesson that had to be learned.
Look, you secretary, you are everything, Gray. I just want to ask, was it kind of like a sleepless night, or was it easy for you to organize all of this?
We're laughing because it wasn't one sleepless night. There were multiple nights where Dan and I are up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and he's drawing and sending over stuff, and I'm doing stuff up on either Canva or editing videos for his socials, or just setting up his link tree and getting things going, and I'm just sending back screenshots like, oh, this is what happened today, this is how much engagement you got on this particular post, we should do this way, we should do this way. And like, coming to the comic, we weren't even thinking about printing. Like, it wasn't even a thing. Dan never expected to print an actual physical copy. What was in the plan is that we were going to release everything online, and as we went, we would put stuff out on the link tree, and people would go there and be able to read it online. There's no hosting service that we can actually like put stuff on and have a paywall for people to pay for things, so we wouldn't have been able to monetize anything. But this was going to be a good first project that we would use to promo bigger things. That was the plan. That was the entire plan. And then we got in touch with a friend of ours, Mr. Jacob Ilave, super helpful, great marketing guy. So when we spoke to him, he suggested trying to get it printed and looking for sponsorship to get it printed so that we could give out physical copies as promo. Yeah, what do we have now? But when that fell through, we were kind of on a run somewhere, and we stopped outside. Just by chance, we were outside this print shop. Shout out to Color Studios, you guys are the most helpful people ever. We appreciate you. We love you guys. Yeah, I just told Dan, let's walk in and get quotes and find out how much it will cost to print X amount of comics.
So, I think I'd best say, long story short, it's finally in our hand.
Yeah, it's a little surreal. It took several days for it to hit Dan that he actually had a comic. Like, actually had it in his hands. He didn't believe it for a second.